Once again, welcome back to another review. This is another paid request, this time from Travis. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of reviews, topics, commentaries, rankings, lists, randomness, out of the blueness, re-reviews, whatever it may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box under the video. Now, The Dark is a film that I would not Jim. I don't think it's a 5 or 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5 star movie. I don't mind it. I liked it for what it is. I can see why people dislike it. It's not a film I will defend, put my dukes up and defend. But I liked it. It's kind of like if you edited certain things time-wise, some of the more chattier moments, and you put like Kolchak, this would be like a good Kolchak the Night Stalker episode, which one of my favorite shows from it came out in the 70s, and you had the Night Stalker, the Night Strangle, then you had Sally for only one season, Kolchak the Night Stalker TV show. I think if you reworked this could have been a good like Kolchak movie. I think that would have been even more interesting if this was a Kolchak movie with Darren McGavin. I think that really would have made this much more satisfying. Because you have Kolchak, and at least the dialogue would be humorous and fun. So the chatty moments would be much more palatable. But the cast here is not too bad. You got William Devane, who was in the film Rolling Thunder. You have Richard Jaeckel. He was in a lot of stuff around this time. I mean, he was in The Green Slime. He was later in Teen of the Tip Boxers. Grizzly. As Jaws, but with a bear. Keenan Wynn is in this. Old school actor. Casey Kasem, the voice of Shaggy from the original Scooby-Doo cartoon. He had his top 40 radio show. He's in this. Cathy Lee Crosby. I do think it was a pretty decent cast. And it does have an interesting backstory. And the backstory is why the film kind of falters. Because at the end of the day, it's about this alien from outer space that stalks victims and sometimes mutilates him, but sometimes will shoot lasers from his eyeballs and people explode. But there's a inconsistency in this, and you tell this that don't add up, because there are times where it'll shoot its laser eyes, and the person's like, ah, and you tell like there's an explosion put after the fact. Like, if you do this, then imagine putting an explosion. Which I'm entertained by, to be honest. But I'm not blind to the flaws in that. But then there'll be talk about, the newspaper calls it the Mangler. I'm like, if it's shooting laser eyeballs and people explode, how is it mangling people? And that, oh, this is a guy that rips heads off. I went, it does? But just, what happened was, Tobe Hooper of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was supposed to direct this film. He started directing it, but they thought he was too far behind. And so they got this other guy who had directed Kingdom of the Spiders with William Shatner, among other films. Mutant, which I enjoyed, with Wayne Hauser. The guy directed that. John Cardos, I believe. But yeah, Mutant with Wayne Hauser, I thought was a entertaining, low-budget horror creature feature flick. And what happened was, like, in the middle or near the end of production, like while making the film, they said, well, the original idea is about this abused, autistic kid who's locked in an attic for his entire life. He's now an adult. The house burned down. He escaped, took his vengeance out into the world, and he would maul and rip off heads. That's why the newspapers called him the Mangler. That's why people would come out in body bags and talk about how we got stabbed before he decapitates half the city. And you're like, well, wait a minute. when that line happens, he hasn't decapitated anybody. He's shooting people with laser eyes, and they, what's going on here? Well, again, near the end of production, they said, well, you know, a lot of these alien films are coming out. Star Wars was a success. They're making this film called Alien for 20th Century Fox, and that seems like a big deal. So aliens are a big deal. Can you change it to an alien? So they took the stuff they filmed and they have to either add, reshoot some scenes. I would assume some of the ending had to be reshot. But I'm sure a lot of the stuff was used in that original. Okay, use that, and then fill this in and fill this in. So you get a fairly inconsistent film if you try to follow the plot where I just, on its face value, I just took it, the alien does whatever it wants. Sometimes it wants to decapitate people, sometimes it wants to shoot with his laser eyes and blow up people. I mean, William Devane I like as an actor. He plays the father, the first victim. There's not much to his character, though, in this. He pretty much just drives around, gets with Cathy Lee Crosby as a TV reporter, talks with a detective played by Richard Jaeckel, drives around a few bits more, has dinner with Cathy Lee Crosby. He doesn't really do a whole lot until the end, and even then it's pretty much run with Cathy Lee Crosby, run some more, and set the creature on fire. That's what I mean. If you had a character like Kolchak as the lead, who's purposely looking into clues, fighting with the police, I think, and his dialogue is much more witty and banter-filled, I think that would have been much more successful. Yeah, if you don't want to talk about, check out Kolchak the Night Stalker TV show, which had episodes like, you had a motorcycle guy who had got his head cut off, and so he's chasing people on a motorcycle, the headless motorcycle, you know, cutting people's heads off with a sword. But with a movie, maybe you could get away a little bit more. Like I said, I thought acting-wise the cast was fine. Casey Kasem, it was cool to see him, because I just usually know him for his voice, whether on the radio for the Countdown or Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. He plays a pathologist. I actually thought he did a rather good job. I think he got the job because Dick Clark. Some people just know him for the New Year's Eve stuff back in the day. He produced this. And I don't know, I didn't mind the light in the film and certain stalking sequences. I thought the finale was fun in a bonkers way where there's a bunch of cops and the creature just turn around with his eyeballs, lighting people on fire, makes one guy fly up to the wall and explode. I thought, again, I wish more of the movie was bonkers nutso, like the ending. So, again, to repeat myself, if you made the protagonist, like I said, a fun lead, like energetic, cold chat type of character that we're following along, or if it was more of a nuts movie that like the ending is, I think it'd be much more of a fun gem flick. As it is, I thought it was okay for what it wasn't too long. Anytime the thing popped up, which does look like a zombie with like some weird eyes, and again, anytime it does the laser stuff, I just smile. I was at least entertained. And that's what I mean. Like one of the first victims, superimposed laser eyes, explosions, folks go boom, and then next they go, she didn't deserve to have her face torn to pieces. And I go, her face torn to pieces? The fucking thing shot laser eyes, and there's a boom. I think it'd be worse than her face torn to pieces, because again, it was supposed to be a different movie that they filmed most of it already. Oh, if you remember the TV show Miami Vice, remember, yeah, Don Johnson and his partner. His partner is Philip Michael Thomas. He has a small, tiny role in this with Cornrows. He's actually called Cornrows. And he's in like a brief 1 minute scene where he thinks the cops won't find the guy. And a lot of it is either with the cops trying to figure out what to do, the reporter and William Devane chatting with each other, or the monster killing people. That's what I mean. It comes off as a feature-length Kolchak, the Night Stalker episode. Sadly, you don't have Kolchak, and that's one of the big issues, is that you needed a strong, focus-filled lead, and also, before you make the film, make up the mind of which direction you're going in. Are you going with this abused, fucked up guy who can't talk and just goes around ripping people's heads off, or you're going from an alien from outer space? Just they add like this opening text at the beginning of the film about aliens. You have this psychic. I don't even think you needed the psychic subplot. It was very unneeded. Like, the psychic subplot was only there to go, by the way, you guys have to go over here. It's kind of like Jeepers Creepers. Although I would rather watch this than Jeepers Creepers, but that's more of a personal thing, because at least this director didn't diddle kids, but I know. Like, that's what I mean. You also see more inconsistency. Like, there's another point where the alien laser kills a woman, and then it cuts to a guy waking up, and then he's holding his neck, as if, I guess, he had a nightmare that he was going to get his head ripped off. But you're like, what's the connection between the two? That's what I mean. Like, this, that doesn't add up. Like, maybe they shot a nightmare scene where the guy got his head ripped off and he wakes up from the nightmare. Maybe it's because she got her head ripped off, and for some reason he... It's one of those films I watch and I'm going, okay, I don't mind the direction of the film. I don't mind the way the film looks. I do like the actors. Like I said, I like... When I say I like the actors, I mean, I don't think they're giving bad performances. Growing up on films like this, I recognize them, and I think they're doing the best they can with the material. I don't think anyone's giving a bad performance. When the monster shows up, there's some fun. Like I said, the ending's a bit bonkers. It's short enough that it's a time waster. It's not a cool poster. The poster's, you say, is better than the movie. But again, it is what it is. It's okay if you're really into 70s movies. Well, I can't even say that. It's one of those that I'm not selling it a, a lot successfully, because I understand its reputation, whereas not the most beloved. It's just I've seen so many worse films that at least the ending, even though Richard Jaeckel as the top really does nothing, he accomplishes nothing. William Devane is the one who takes care of it. I think the ending definitely helped the film for me to make it into a time waster, where the aliens cops are on fire, making cops fly up and explode. It's like, man, I wish the movie was more of this bonkers instead of fairly chatty with its dialogue. And even with that, like, if you had a cold chat, I already mentioned that. So yeah, it's one of those films that definitely has a flawed production, that I think the director and actors did the best they could. But when you change things that serious midway through or two-thirds of the way through, you did that. And in a way, I could see why, because maybe if it was just the monster ripping heads off, this film would be even less known. But when the monster is shooting these laser eyes, that's the stuff that sticks out the most in like a fun, enjoyable manner. So I'm thinking, man, if it didn't have that, it'd be even less of a watchable film. So I think just you didn't have a strong hero, or you didn't have maybe a fun, witty script to have us enjoy the dialogue moments when the monster's not on screen. I don't know how the ending would have happened originally if all it did was maybe it just would have thrown the cops around like a troll chat Night Stalker episode. This should have just been a troll chat movie. Granted, Darren McDarren would not have done it, I'm sure, but I'm just saying, that type of film, I think that would have been more successful. Or if, there was maybe gore, or just more of an energy, or if you... Maybe if you even followed Casey Kasem's character. Because I think that would have been... Like, Casey Kasem... That would have been at least an interesting choice. Just, I don't know, I like Casey Kasem. But, again, I was a old school Scooby-Doo fan, so... to have seen more of him. I think William Devane didn't do bad, just they didn't really do anything with his character. Like I said, it's a very flawed film. It's very unincredible. I don't think that's a word. It's not, it's an unmemorable film. Like I said, it's a film that you watch, maybe you did a time waster, but it's not a film. And again, if people don't like it, I can understand why. It just, I can't bring myself to hate it. I don't. It's inoffensive. I mean, it's inoffensive. It was short enough. It wasn't boring to me. It was, like I said, the backstory could be more interesting than the movie itself. And, again, it was what it was. But at least it gave me some enjoyable moments. Again, anytime with the... Got some general out of me. So, take that for what you will. So, with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye. Well, one other thing. I thought the score was pretty decent for what it needed to be. At least I think some of the way it's lit, it's directed, is not that bad either. I think it's trying to create a moody atmosphere and stalking sequences. It just, again, it needed more polish. So, with that said, see you guys later. Bye-bye.